Thank you so much. And thank all of you for all you've done working with us. Some of you know our work through the Our Children, Our Future campaign, which is more focused on state policy. Try This is an initiative to get West Virginia off of those worst health lists, one community at a time. So some of you know what we do, and some of us are part of with the Our Children, Our Future campaign. Think of this as the local engine that's driving people and helping folks do local projects, especially with regard to health and the connection between health and economic development. To kick us off, we wanted to share some news, and one of the things we like is when West Virginia gets in the news for good things. So we're going to play this story real quickly.
Back everyone, about 400 people from 20 organizations got together in our region today to talk about bettering our state as a whole.
The Try This conference is working to tackle health issues that plague our state so we can better everyone who lives here.
Phyllis Smith went to the conference and has all the details and the exciting ideas they shared today. Phyllis, tell us what you learned.
This conference is the first of its kind in our state, and organizers said it's more than just a conference, it's a grassroots movement.
All sorts of different organizations are working together to try to better our state's health. Many experts said the current situation is a public health emergency.
Obesity and chronic health illnesses are on the rise, so this is going to be something that a lot of other states are going to probably look at in, a year or two, a few years, and be like, well, they did it. West Virginia did it, so maybe we should do that too.
There were over 20 sessions about planting a community garden, starting school-based health centers, and the creation of farmers markets. Organizers said they also wanted to incorporate our youth.
I feel like I can do stuff for my community at a young age, and it makes me feel good. I feel like kind of important because I can actually go and tell people where I live that can actually make stuff happen that I want to happen.
Community teams are able to apply for more than $50,000 in mini grants for local projects.
Our youth here who are, we're here to get ideas. We actually have a community garden in Logan County, and it's really exciting to be here to learn from others who have maybe are further along in the process and kind of get ideas from them.
This is the first Try This conference in West Virginia. Many people are working hard at this conference to try to help solve our state's health problems. And next year, they're hoping the conference is going to be an even bigger hit.
I think it's only going to get bigger. West Virginia has all the solutions to West Virginia's problems.
Organizers said they're going to keep in touch with the progress of groups that incorporate new projects in their towns so they can keep the movement going. And if you want to know more about this activism, you can visit their website at trythiswv.com. For 5 News, I'm Phyllis Smith.
First 5 not over yet. We want you to know what.
Great. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of what it is we're talking about. My job is to sort of set the stage, and then I'm going to invite the co-chair of the project, Kate Long, up, and you'll also hear from Stephanie Tyree from the West Virginia Community Development Hub. So basically, when we went around the state and talked to different groups of people, we heard 2 things. One was, look, if you gave us something to do locally that we could get started on tomorrow, we would do it. And the other thing we heard was, look at what we're already doing. That throughout the state, all of the best examples, even nationally recognized examples of public health responses are right here in our state. So that's what this project is designed to do, is lift up the groups and communities that are already leading not just the state but the nation when it comes to public health and responding to obesity and chronic disease locally, but also to support and give tools to those communities that want to do more about this. There's 4 components. We think of it as a 4-legged stool or a table. The first component obviously is the conference, which was this past 2 weekends back. We had over 400 people. They came from more than 47 local teams. So, in a given area, that may be the local mayor or a legislator, but it's also the principal of the high school, or it's a parent, or you saw youth who were involved. A diverse local team coming to the conference to trade ideas. Hey, this is what we're already doing. This is what we want to take back to our communities. That's the first leg of the stool, is the conference. That'll happen annually now. We've got Wesleyan on board to host next year as well. The second leg of the stool is the website, which I've got up here and which Kate will go over in a moment. This is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Anytime you want a resource on how to make something happen in your community, it is now up there with stories and links to real West Virginians who are already doing this. So it's not find some national expert, it's talk to the person in the county over about what they're doing. That's the second leg of the stool, is the website, which is there and a resource for all of our partners. The third leg of the stool is the mini grants. You heard these mentioned in the video. We want to make sure that people don't lose that momentum from the conference. So due on Thursday are mini grant applications from these teams that came to the conference. We're expecting to get at least 20 applications. It might be more like 30 or 40 from projects that want to take, a little bit of money. They've already got the team ready, they've got the plan, and this would be a little bit of money to help them get started with their project locally. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. And then the fourth leg of the stool is, we're still figuring out a name for it, the steering committee, a leadership team. Basically, we're talking about a public-private coalition that includes business, it includes community groups, it includes the state and public health officials, it includes county and local officials, all of these different diverse partners working together to drive this project forward and keep adding on to it year to year. The values that bring this together, obviously one is the importance of local and grassroots leadership. These are groups that are used to getting by without a lot of money and do so well. A second sort of value that brings the work together is the diversity. There is not one organization that put this on. This is a literal and true collaboration between the Healthy Kids and Families Coalition, but also the Community Development Hub, the Association of Counties, the West Virginia Presbytery and the Council of Churches, the state, the Bureau for Public Health, and a myriad of other partners statewide who all said, we don't care if we have single ownership over this, we want to pitch in. But you also see that diversity at the local level, where there's pastors working with public officials, working with legislators to make these projects happen. The third value is that this is action-oriented and solution-oriented. We all know what the problem is. West Virginia is at the top of almost every worst health list, whether it's chronic disease or obesity or childhood obesity. This is an effort that's focused on the solutions and what people are already doing and what they can do. We'll come back to some recommendations at the end of the presentation, but by way of summary, from where we're looking at the local level, there are a couple of things that the state is doing very, very well, and there are a couple of major things that the state could be doing a lot better. The good news is that this project and many other projects have had the support of the Bureau for Public Health, and Jessica Wright is here today if you have further questions for her. The Bureau for Public Health, despite funding cuts, came in early to support this process and help build the seed money for these mini grants, knowing that it's a role for the state to support local efforts to improve public health, and they've been an outstanding partner in all of this. The other piece of good news from the state perspective is that the Office of Child Nutrition, which obviously governs a lot of the food and health and physical activity related activities that are happening in the schools, is a national leader. For those who don't know, the West Virginia's Office of Child Nutrition is often asked to lead national presentations and workshops. Their director was recently recognized by the White House. We are absolutely leading the nation, in part thanks to this committee and its work on Feed to Achieve, when it comes to school lunches and food and physical activity in schools. That's the good news. The areas of improvement, we talked about the value of the Bureau for Public Health, the division that focuses on this kind of work, preventative health, chronic disease. The budget for that office should be getting much bigger because it's a way to save money in the long run, and instead is getting much smaller. It's shrunk from $10 million a few years ago to now $1.5 million. So there's a whole lot that can be done that we're actually losing ground when it comes to making preventative health a priority. Furthermore, we know the huge cost of this. So it's not just the Bureau for Public Health, but health costs in general are growing, and as you know, suck out more and more of that state budget and Medicaid and other costs every year. And we really have a choice of whether we want to spend the next 20 or 30 years spending all of our money on treating chronic disease prevention, or whether we just want to spend the next 5 or 10 years investing in avoiding it in the first place. We hope that this committee and the state will examine that and look at the real cost on the back end and what can be done to prevent those costs.
This was really wonderful. I've been around for a long time, and I've never seen such a diversity of local people so on fire about doing something. People are really worried about their kids in particular. They know that the CDC has said that if we don't do something, that our level of chronic disease is going to double by 2030, which, as you all are very familiar with, means that our costs will go way up. And most of all, those are our kids that we're talking about. And so it was wonderful to see all of those local people just going at it. If you look on the first page of your program, one of the real other wonderful things was the collaboration on the state level of the groups that put it together. Stephen mentioned that there were 20 different groups that included from state government, the Office of Child Nutrition and the Bureau for Public Health, but also a good number of state level funders, the Food and Farm Coalition, the Association of Counties, the Hub, et cetera, et cetera. We've all got to work together, is basically the message. The other thing I loved was it was across the board political, Republicans, Democrats, all age, so forth. Everybody cares about their kids. Everybody cares about knocking West Virginia off of the top of some of these worst health lists. That doesn't have any politics. And so I want to show you the website. This was made with the funding of the Benedum Foundation, which funds many good things. And up here in the corner, fitness activity equals economic development. We had a session on that. The Center on Budget and Policy put together a white paper on our current cost of being on the top of all these worst health lists, and that's one of our recommendations, is that you invite them up to present that to you. But as you go over the website, I'll just give you a quick little thing. It's you run your mouse over it, and it tells you what you're looking for. Get kids moving in after-school programs, start a youth sports league, make healthier school meals, prevent or control diabetes, offer fun challenges that get people moving, plant community gardens. And when you see one that interests you, well, you click on it, and it takes you to a page that has a photograph, or let's see, this is not my computer, so I don't know how to run it. Let's see. Somebody help me here. How do you move this thing down? Yeah.
Just use these.
Use these? Okay. All right. It starts with a picture. This is Williamson Community Garden across from the Senior Center. And then you move it down, and it says you want to do this in your own community. Sometimes it has a video from another West Virginia community. And all of these are either videos or links that take you either to a West Virginia site or a national site that can tell you how you can do this in your community. And so there are 85 squares on this thing now, with more coming. Biking, paddling, high tunnel greenhouses, getting kids growing gardens, mommies and kids exercising together, getting a walking and running program started, healthy food in the schools, what you can do as a parent, getting running going in the schools. All kinds of things that can be done that are affordable and doable in West Virginia communities, and in each case there's a few communities that show you, yeah, we can do this, and it isn't going to bust your budget. So that's the website. I really encourage you, when in your free time, to go to it. You can go to the index, and it'll give you a list of everything that's on the site that in case you can just wander around and look at it, but you can look at how you can build a trail, all kinds of things about bicycling, water sports, and so forth and so on. This is there, free to every West Virginian. It is nonpartisan. It is straight, good, solid information for communities that want to become more healthy and do things for themselves, which many are not waiting for anybody to help them to do it. At the conference, I just wanted to show you some pictures from the conference. I wish that you could. Okay, help me. This one's totally different from mine. All right, pictures. People from all over. They were loving getting together and trading ideas with each other. There's the mayor of Morgantown. She was in a session on community conversations, getting people together for the purpose of talking about how can we make our community a better place to live. Went home and this week started one in Morgantown. We had a group from, there's the Center on Budget and Policy presenting their report that I would encourage you to look at. People were totally into it. There's Kent Spellman, the head of the West Virginia Community Development Hub, announcing that the hub is going to incubate a statewide physical activity network that will help local communities get walking and running groups started, physical activity, and so forth. These people are ready to help themselves. Here's a fellow from Harrisville whose community took an old crumbling gym in Ritchie County and turned it into a state-of-the-art facility that has multiple events every day. We didn't just talk about it. We did the physical activity too while we were there. Hula hoop wars, Tai Chi, yoga, so forth. There's the head of the Association of Counties and the head of the Office of Child Nutrition going at it with somebody. Young people there as a VISTA team and public health students as volunteers. People from all over. You may recognize some people from your own community in these pictures. Here's the session on using the media. Session on what local politicians can do. This one was on spreading healthy cooking statewide. Jamie Jeffrey gets an award. Local people talking, going at it, planning how they can apply for a mini grant and what they can do to make their communities more healthy. I have never seen this kind of energy, really. So next year, the hula hoops are going to be there and the ideas will be there. But in the meantime, we'll be meeting with these communities, and Stephen's going to tell you about that, and Stephanie's going to tell you a little more about the beginning statewide physical activity network. I will mention that I would recommend you also invite Rick Goff to come down here and talk to you about the statewide wellness network that he's creating for the schools, which will be a partner for the physical activity network, which will be for communities. And so the grassroots are starting to get this together, and the legislature will be a wonderful partner for them. So thank you so much.
We are going to be supporting and incubating this statewide physical activity network. So the Hub is a community development organization, and we think that community health and wellness and physical activity is central to community development. So we see it as integral to the work that we do, just like we see local foods as integral to community development. About 4 years ago, we stepped up to incubate the West Virginia Food and Farm Coalition with the same purpose. The Food and Farm Coalition serves to kind of bring together all the different groups and communities that are working on local food issues and help to create some pathways for them to move through that work in a coordinated way, and also to create some mini grants and funding mechanisms to support that work at the community level. So the idea here is that we want to provide the same support to physical activity groups and physical activity happening in communities. We also want to partner with this school wellness network that the Office of Childhood Nutrition is supporting in the schools. So we see these as two networks that will work in tandem with each other. The physical activity network will be happening at the community level, and the wellness network will be happening at the school level. The other thing that we think of is, you saw the website on here before. For us, the website is one of the central connectors that the statewide network will be using. It already has hundreds of examples of activities that are happening in West Virginia communities, and it's a great way for us to connect communities with each other and not have to be the middleman between them. So the statewide physical activity network is just starting. Like they said, it was just launched a couple weeks ago. What it will look like, we don't know, but we do know that with the Food and Farm Coalition, when it started a few years ago, the local food movement was really just starting to burgeon in the state, and we have seen it explode over the past few years. So our hope is that the same kind of process will happen with physical activity, and that the state can start to be, like Stephen said, on the lead, at the lead of these lists nationally. The last thing I'll say is what we told participants at Try This is the next step for that work is for those groups to go back in their communities to propose mini grant programs and to seek funding, and then to come back together at the regional level for our regional policy workshops that are happening in July in 4 locations across the state. So we're holding these community policy workshops in Clarksburg, Martinsburg, Lewisburg, and Hurricane. And part of those workshops will be a Try This training and looking at how policy relates to physical activity and health and wellness at the state level and at the local level. I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Thank you.